Tensions between Israel and Iran have reached a dangerous new peak, with both nations locked in a cycle of threats and counter-threats that has the world holding its breath. What was once a simmering rivalry has now erupted into a full-blown standoff, with each side making moves that could have far-reaching consequences. As of June 22, 2025, the world is on edge, fearing a spark that could ignite a regional war. Ordinary people across the globe are glued to their screens, watching events unfold in real time, aware that the decisions made in the coming days could shape the future of the Middle East and beyond. At the heart of this crisis is Iran's advancing nuclear program, which Israel sees as an existential threat. Iran insists its nuclear ambitions are peaceful, but Israel and much of the international community remain deeply skeptical, fearing the possibility of a nuclear-armed Iran could tip the balance of power in the region and spark a dangerous arms race. Recent intelligence suggests Israel is seriously considering a unilateral strike on Iran's nuclear facilities, even without US backing. Israeli leaders argue that waiting any longer could allow Iran to cross a point of no return, making military action the only option left on the table. Iran, in turn, has issued dire warnings of devastating retaliation. Iranian officials have vowed to strike back not only at Israel, but also at any nation that supports or assists in an attack, raising the specter of a much wider conflict that could engulf the entire region. The US and Europe are scrambling to prevent a conflict that could destabilize the Middle East and ripple across the globe. Diplomatic channels are working overtime, with world leaders urging restraint and searching for a last-minute breakthrough to avert disaster. The stakes are enormous. A single miscalculation could trigger a war neither side truly wants. Military forces are on high alert and civilians are bracing for the worst as the world watches and waits for the next move. The US has begun evacuating embassy staff in the region, and Britain has warned of threats to global shipping lanes. Governments are preparing for the possibility of sudden escalation, with contingency plans being activated across the Middle East and beyond. This is no longer a local dispute. It's a global crisis in the making. The economic and political shockwaves are already being felt worldwide as uncertainty grows and the risk of miscalculation looms ever larger. To understand this standoff, we must look at the deep fears and strategies driving both nations. Only by examining the motives and calculations behind each move can we grasp the true danger of this moment. Central to Israel's thinking is a shadowy doctrine, the Samson Option. This policy, shrouded in secrecy, is a last resort strategy that underscores just how high the stakes have become and how far both sides might go to ensure their survival in this dangerous standoff. Subscribe, like, and share Cosmo Academia. The Samson Option is Israel's presumed last resort strategy, a concept shrouded in secrecy and speculation. It refers to the idea that if Israel were ever faced with total annihilation, if its very existence as a nation was at stake, it would unleash its full nuclear arsenal in a final act of retaliation. This would mean massive nuclear retaliation, targeting not just the immediate aggressors, but potentially their allies or even major cities, making the consequences of attacking Israel catastrophic for the entire region. The Samson Option isn't about winning a war in the traditional sense. Instead, it's about making the cost of aggression so unimaginably high that no rational actor would ever consider launching an existential attack against Israel. The doctrine is named after the biblical figure Samson, who brought down a temple on himself and his enemies, choosing mutual destruction over surrender. The symbolism is clear. If Israel is forced to fall, it will ensure its enemies fall with it. The message is brutal and unmistakable. If you try to destroy us, we'll take you with us. This threat is designed to deter even the most determined adversaries. At its core, the Samson Option is rooted in deterrence, not conquest. It's a policy meant to prevent war, not to start one, by making the risks of aggression intolerably high. The term entered public discourse with the 1991 book, The Samson Option, by journalist Seymour Hersh, which exposed details of Israel's secret nuclear program and the thinking behind its nuclear deterrence. The idea is to prevent annihilation by making any existential attack a suicide mission for the aggressor. It's a high-stakes gamble, but one that has arguably kept Israel's enemies at bay for decades. Born from a history of persecution and the trauma of the Holocaust, the Samson Option is seen by many Israelis as the ultimate guarantee. Never again will the Jewish people be defenseless in the face of existential threats. Israel's nuclear weapons, though never officially acknowledged, are widely believed to exist as instruments of survival, not tools of conquest. Their purpose is to ensure the nation's continued existence, no matter the odds. In a region marked by hostility and shifting alliances, the Samson Option serves as a grim insurance policy, one that aims to keep the unthinkable from ever becoming reality. Its very existence is meant to keep the worst from ever happening, casting a long shadow that shapes the security calculations of the entire Middle East. The name Samson Option comes from the Hebrew Bible's story of Samson. Betrayed and blinded, Samson brought down a temple on himself and his enemies, crying, "Let me die with the Philistines." This act of self-destruction as vengeance is a powerful metaphor for Israel's doctrine. If pushed to the brink, Israel signals it will unleash its full destructive power, even at its own peril. The story reflects a mindset shaped by existential threats and a refusal to go quietly. For Israel's strategists, the name is a stark warning: survival at any cost. It's psychological warfare as much as military doctrine. Israel's nuclear policy is one of deliberate ambiguity, never confirming or denying its arsenal. Officials simply say Israel will not be the first to introduce nuclear weapons to the Middle East. This vagueness avoids provoking an arms race and shields Israel from international sanctions. Still, it's widely accepted that Israel possesses a sophisticated nuclear arsenal, estimated at 80 to 400 warheads. Delivery systems include land-based Jericho missiles, nuclear-capable jets, and submarines with cruise missiles. Submarines provide a secure second strike capability, ensuring retaliation even if Israel is hit first. This triad makes the Samson Option a credible threat. Ambiguity keeps adversaries guessing and cautious. Subscribe, like, and share Cosmo Academia. The Samson Option is about deterrence, not use. Its power lies in the credible threat. Any existential attack on Israel would trigger overwhelming nuclear retaliation. The red line is undefined, but generally means Israel's survival is at stake, such as a WMD attack or imminent military defeat. Israel's nuclear triad, missiles, jets, and submarines, ensures survivability and second strike capability. Submarines in particular guarantee that even if Israel is devastated, it can still retaliate. The doctrine is not for conquest or expansion, but for survival. The logic: no enemy would risk total annihilation for any political or military gain. By maintaining this deterrent, Israel aims to prevent existential threats from ever materializing. The Samson Option is a shield of last resort. Its existence alone is meant to keep the peace by making the cost of war unthinkable. The Samson Option's relevance is stark amid the current Iran crisis. As tensions escalate, the world is reminded of the high stakes and the fragile balance of power in the region. The specter of nuclear conflict, once a distant fear, now feels uncomfortably close. Iran's nuclear program is advancing rapidly, with uranium enrichment nearing weapons grade. International inspectors warn that Iran is just steps away from crossing a critical threshold, raising alarms in capitals across the globe. The pace of development has outstripped diplomatic efforts, leaving the world community scrambling for solutions. Israel's leaders insist they won't allow Iran to get the bomb, and the window for a conventional strike is closing. Military planners debate the risks of preemptive action, while political leaders weigh the consequences of inaction. The sense of urgency is palpable, with every passing day narrowing Israel's options. In 2024, Israel showed it could strike Iran's defenses alone, but Iran is rebuilding with outside help. Foreign advisors and clandestine shipments of advanced technology have accelerated Iran's recovery, making future strikes even more difficult and dangerous. US diplomatic efforts have stalled, and Israeli officials are signaling readiness for unilateral action. The breakdown in talks has left allies divided and adversaries emboldened as the possibility of a negotiated solution fades. High-level talks are underway, but few expect a breakthrough. The atmosphere is tense, with negotiators facing immense pressure and little room for compromise. The world watches as hopes for peace grow dimmer. The Samson Option looms in the background, Israel's ultimate deterrent if all else fails. This doctrine, shrouded in secrecy, is a reminder that Israel possesses the means to respond with overwhelming force if its survival is threatened. Its purpose is to prevent a nuclear-armed Iran from ever using its weapons. The mere existence of the Samson Option is meant to dissuade adversaries from crossing red lines, serving as a silent but powerful warning. If a regional war threatens Israel's existence, the doctrine could become reality. The consequences would be catastrophic, not just for the region, but for the entire world. The fear of escalation keeps leaders awake at night. The world is watching a countdown, hoping it never reaches zero. Every diplomatic failure, Every military maneuver brings the region closer to the brink. The sense of urgency is growing as the clock ticks relentlessly forward. The stakes, not just regional war, but potential nuclear catastrophe. The devastation of a nuclear exchange would be felt far beyond the Middle East, with consequences for generations to come. The Samson Option is Israel's last line of defense. It is both a shield and a warning, a policy born of necessity in a region where existential threats are never far away. Its shadow hangs over every decision, a constant reminder of the stakes and the perilous path ahead. Rhetoric from both sides is escalating dangerously. Iran's leaders boast of new missiles and threaten US bases, aiming to deter an Israeli strike. The Revolutionary Guard warns of history-making retaliation, projecting strength and uncertainty. Symbolic acts like unveiling statues of national heroes bolster Iranian morale and defiance. Israel, true to its policy of ambiguity, lets its actions speak military readiness and diplomatic missions signal resolve. The 2024 strike on Iran's air defenses showed both capability and intent. Both sides believe the other poses an existential threat. Each tries to deter the other, but the risk of miscalculation grows. The Samson Option is the unspoken threat underlying every move. Subscribe, like, and share Cosmo Academia. The world is watching with deep concern. A war between Israel and Iran would not stay contained. It could ignite the entire Middle East. Proxy groups, global shipping lanes, and oil supplies are all at risk. Disruption in the Strait of Hormuz could send oil prices soaring and trigger a global recession. The specter of nuclear escalation raises the stakes to unprecedented levels. The taboo against nuclear use has held since 1945. The Samson Option threatens to shatter it. Diplomacy is faltering and the path to peace is narrowing. The world fears not just war but apocalypse. The Samson Option is Israel's ultimate security guarantee, a doctrine of last resort. It's a strategy born from history, designed to deter annihilation by making the cost of attack unbearable. Israel's nuclear ambiguity keeps adversaries guessing and prevents a regional arms race. The current crisis with Iran has made this once theoretical doctrine frighteningly real. As rhetoric heats up and diplomacy fails, the risk of catastrophe grows. The world watches, hoping for de-escalation. The alternative is a conflict where the ancient story of Samson becomes a modern nightmare. The shadow of the Samson Option hangs over the future of the Middle East and the world. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share Cosmo Academia for more deep dives into global affairs.